Yo guys, what is going on? It is Invin here, and today what I am bringing to you guys is my thoughts on the February New World update. Now, this is a pretty big update for a lot of reasons. Some players seeing it as less so because it's just bug fixes. Other players seeing it as a huge progression step, and to be honest, that is the boat I'm in. This seems like a really good step in the right direction for New World, and something that I am very excited about covering. There's a lot of things in this update that have actually been improved upon. There's a lot of things in this update that we've needed since the start of the launch, and admittedly, yeah, they may be a little bit too late in some cases in terms of we should have had them sooner, but I actually think this is a really good update overall, and is something I am very excited to see coming into the live servers. Now, before we fully jump into this video, if you haven't already done so, please make sure you drop a subscribe down below. I'm covering tons of New World, Lost Ark, all content like that. If you want to see anything like that, make sure you are dropping a subscribe, and without further ado, let's jump into it. So talking first about what the patch will actually do for us then, well, the patch is essentially a fixer-upper patch. It's going to be all the bugs, all the issues, all the major things that we've been talking about for the past couple of months, and even the past 4 or 5 months since launch, all covered and basically fixed or remedied, etc., in whichever way they need to be in order to make the game run smoother. Now, this for me is a really crucial thing. I do think that potentially we could have done with this sooner, but I understand it's not necessarily just the developers that have the opinion of when these things roll out. You know, they've got a team leading them and they've got to get content out as well. But I do think that this can't come soon enough. I'm really happy that it is happening now, and I think that this is going to be something that a lot of players are going to want to see. Now, in terms of the video title today then, does this revive New World? Does this make players want to come back to the game more? I think yes will be the answer to this. Once we've seen, you know, there's some balance changes, some weapon updates, especially, yeah, okay, it's not brand new content, but it will change the way that things play, as well as the mutation updates and changes as well around balancing. These things are going to be things that draw players back towards the game and make people gravitate towards playing it again to test out new builds, especially when they see content or they see other pieces of information on Twitter or social media about, you know, how the game has changed. People start talking again on forums, etc., saying, you know, I really like this update, I'm not keen on this update, whatever it is, that will encourage people to get in and try it. So I do think that there is going to be an influx after this goes live, especially for people to test it, but I do think that new content will be needed to bring the majority of players back into the game. Now, at this point, I would much rather see all of these bug polishes and fixes come out before any new content whatsoever, because this is really crucial. And, you know, for New World to be releasing this, they need to get it right. It needs to be nailed, and it needs to be a successful approach basically to how this update is going to be deployed. There needs to be no additional bugs created when this patch goes live, and that is something crucial. If they get that right, they are in a really good position, because yes, they haven't brought anything new out, but everything that is in the game then, or 99% of the things in the game, should then work as intended, which means people can start to really progress in ways that they want to, understand how the game works fully, and really get their teeth into certain aspects of the content, which is really important for the progression of the lifespan of the game and not just the short-term interim span. Now, going forward, obviously, we want to see new content. I would really like to see some PvP content, some arena-style fights. New weapons added in would be amazing. And, you know, potentially new PvE content in the near future as well. All of these things, you know, we talked about new zones previously, would be absolutely amazing. But, like I said, that comes only after this patch has been cleared and all the bugs are sorted. Now, again, with those, it's really crucial that no introduction of new bugs is enabled through these patches and updates. And on the same kind of ethos and spec as that, let's make sure that no old bugs re-emerge as a result of these subsequent content patches that we might see. So that's two things that I think they really need to knuckle down on with this February update as well. Now, in terms of my opinion on the current state of the game, I really love New World still. It's a fantastic game, and I'm absolutely still going to be playing it. Personally, I'd taken a break whilst Lost Ark launched because I did a little bit of a no-life streak on that game. But what I am going to be doing going forward is splitting the content again, but putting a bit more focus back into New World, as I do miss making the videos for that. It is one of my favourite games, and I do really want to get back into the content there more. So if there's anything specifically you would like to see me cover, do leave that in the comments. But I'm going to go down the route of looking at mutation builds, looking at kind of secrets and untalked about changes, maybe talking about certain setups, how you can win wars more often, all that kind of good stuff to give people a good in-depth guide now that most people who are playing the game have a pretty solid foundational knowledge and understanding of how each of the systems works. Now, obviously, with this, I'm going to throw in some Lost Ark and such still, but today we are obviously focusing on New World specifically, and with that, what I want to talk about is what we hope to see as a result of the February patch. Well, obviously, we want things to be cleared up. We want things to be really smooth-lined, the game to be streamlined, and, everything to run as intended. Things like the mutations not switching over at their period where they should have ended that and the new one should come on. That is pretty crucial because that's a brand new, it's the all-star feature at the moment, and that wasn't working as intended, which is a really bad look, even though it was probably, one of those things that cannot be helped. It's not necessarily on the part of the developers or anything like that, but it is just one of those things where if that had worked, and this is their flagship thing running them through the next couple of months, which is when it released what it would have been, then, ideally that would have come out with almost native perfect implementation. However, that is not how game development works. It's not how putting things into live servers works, and I'm pretty sure everybody that plays is aware of that, but I'm really glad that that has mostly been sorted out now. I just think these remaining problems really need to hit the nail on the head, and that's why this February patch is so important. Also, what I want it to do is lay the foundations for future updates, making sure that we've got all of the code lines settled, all of any previous bugs or any current bugs, anything like that, settled and dug away, and they're not going to re-emerge with future updates. It needs to be in a situation where we can get a new content patch drop with no repercussions to the code. Now, I know, again, that's not exactly how everything works. It's a lot more complicated than the generalizations I'm making right now, but speaking from a consumer and a player point of view, it really needs to be, going forward, things a lot more polished when they come out, and things really, going in the right direction, because this February patch looks absolutely amazing. From what I've read, from what I've seen, and from what I've played on the PTR, this patch is probably my favourite one yet, despite it not having any literal content. It has a lot of content in terms of how the game will function afterwards, and a lot of things that us players that have been playing since, betas and alphas and technical tests and all that kind of stuff, going into the full game, seeing the progression cycle, and from release playing all the way up until now, it's a lot of things that we've really, really wanted to see in the internal community, players talking between each others, on the servers and such. A lot of the things that are being covered in this update is things that we've been asking for and hoping for very, very sharply. So that's always going to be a positive. It's going to keep the community that is still playing avidly every single day for multiple hours really satisfied with the game, and also will keep us all in lock. It'll change up the weapons a little bit, so we've got something new to test out in the wars and such, and it really makes for a good fresh environment in something that's, as I keep saying, nothing particularly new content wise, but it will give it a fresh feel with this brand new overhaul. Now, I've seen a lot of videos across YouTube, and basically they're saying, the game is dead, the game is falling apart, and I don't agree with that. I know that there'll be some people who disagree with me saying I don't agree. It's entirely fine, you can have your own opinion. The reason I don't agree with that is because the game is very, very young in comparison. A lot of people have been comparing it to Lost Ark and saying, well, look at Lost Ark's launch. Yes, we've had a few server issues, but the game is fine. But the game has been out for multiple years in other regions and other parts of the world, so they've had that development cycle. Lots of other games that come out in the MMO industry pretty much fail within the first few months, or they do really well, or they're a bit of a failure at the start. If we look at things like ESO, it wasn't particularly well received. After the first couple of updates, it was still pretty rocky, but then they started to move into different content. They started to move into upgrading everything that was in the game and making it a lot smoother and a lot better. And in today's day and age, it's a lot more high regarded. I know some people are split on that, but generally, and we've seen games like World of Warcraft move in and out of these spheres as well. So I think it is just a case of waiting for the progression. And what is really important is looking at the communication from Amazon Game Studios, and also looking at the direction that they are taking the game in. Are they listening to community feedback? Are they listening to the players? And the answer to all of that is yes. They've got decent communication with the community, lots of updates through Twitter, especially on the forums. They're very active, so if you aren't an active member of that, but you are someone that is really invested in the game, I would highly recommend you get yourself over there. Lots of questions being answered. If you put a question on and there is someone available to answer it from the mod team there or from the community management team, they're always on the forums answering questions and updating updating posts, so it's a really great place to be, and that is something that we don't see with a lot of games. So directionally, I think the game is going in the right direction. I would like to see this, obviously continue to be the case. We'll have to wait and see what March has in store for us after the February one, and of course see how February update interacts with the live servers, what potential issues it could have, or hopefully, fingers crossed, best case scenario, what issues it actually fixes and remedies and makes the game a whole lot better for all of us players. Now there is going to be some people who are not really happy with just a bug fixing month, there's no content, etc. I've seen that thrown around a lot, and that's fine. If people want to take a break from the game, absolutely fine, valid opinion. If you want to move away from it for a few months and come back, you can do whichever. Personally, I'm going to be carrying on playing, and for those of you that are interested, obviously going to be keeping uploading the content here. I've got some really cool ideas planned for the near future, and especially with the February update coming out, obviously we're going to have to test out those weapons on the live servers, come out with some new builds for mutations, for PvP and wars, and of course for general PvE content. So lots to cover, lots to look at, which should be really exciting. I'm overall very excited for this update, and I'm really hoping that it smooths out the game generally. And if you can't tell by the tone of this video, I'm looking forward to it, and I'm really hoping that it brings a lot of people back on side with New World, because really it's a great game, it's really a lot of fun, and I think a lot of people are more annoyed that stuff isn't working because they actually like the game a lot. So obviously there'll be some people who it's not for them, and no game is going to be for everybody, but generally on the whole, I think a lot of players would like to get involved and would like things to work. So if this goes ahead and this February update is successful, I think it could really reignite a lot of people's passion for the game, and that is something I personally am really hoping for. Now of course this is just my opinion, as with any video of this ilk or type, people are not going to agree, people are going to slightly agree with some points and not others. Completely fine, let me know in the comments your thoughts and feelings, but obviously keep it civil, just keep it to a nice standard, try to be amicable with one another, but do let me know what your feelings are, what you'd like to see from New World going forward, and what your current feelings about the state of the game are as well, because I think they're all important factors to look at. Other than that, guys, that is going to be it for today, so I hope you have enjoyed. In the background you've seen some mutations, gameplay and things of that nature, so hopefully you've enjoyed that as well. And other than that, that's going to be it, so thank you very much for your time, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you again very shortly with a brand new upload. Take care, guys, and peace.